Prince Harry's first day on the stand is now over, and oh my goodness, has he just given the worst testimony ever. I'm going to explain how he failed, but make sure, firstly, you subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for more details in this Daily Nerd starting right now. Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef The Alter Nerd, your nerdy alternative, and welcome to another dose of the Daily Nerd, where I break down the news and pop culture stories of the day that's pretty much caught me eye, and oh my goodness. Earlier on today, I did release a Daily Nerd recapping this morning's testimony from Prince Harry, so if you haven't watched that, go there first. I'll link it in the description bar below, but for everyone that's watched this morning's video, welcome to video number 2, this afternoon's testimony. Oh my goodness, yes. And before I jump into all the juicy details with that one, there's a little bit of housekeeping as always. Firstly, YouTube human reviewer, I see you lurking. I'm not going to say any trigger words or anything that's going to offend your ear holes. And to everyone else awesome enough to have clicked on this video, hey up, how you all doing? If you've got some very strong feelings about Prince Harry being on the stand, and I bet you do, then make sure you send me a super thanks. It's just below this video right here. Let's have a conversation about it, because it does guarantee a response from me. And oh yeah, let's jump into this one, shall we? So, this afternoon session started at 2 o'clock UK time, and oh my, yes, the Mirror Group newspaper, MGN's lawyer, went straight in with the quote, Kissing Disease article, the 8th article in question, titled Harry's Sick with Kissing Disease, which was released on 29th of March 2002. And it was about Hazard's diagnosis of glandular fever. Now, the lawyer points out that actually a St. James's Palace spokeswoman is actually quoted in the article talking about Harry's condition. So how can Hazard turn around and say you unlawfully gathered that information when literally in the article it's a spokesperson from the palace that's giving this information, and it's quoted in the actual article? And Prince Harry turns around and says the palace does not have a systemic habit of talking of private matters. In fact, their job is quite the opposite. Well, it don't matter if they don't have a systemic habit of talking about private matters, because in this instance, it's literally in the article that they did for this story. So, again, where's the unlawful information gathering? Where's the phone hacking? I'm just asking for a friend, really, in all honesty. But moving on, the Daily Mirror, MGN, has turned round and claiming that this story was obtained by Jane Kerr, who's a royal reporter who was, quote, well connected. They add that it was also during the period where the relationship between Mark Boland, the then Prince of Wales, King Charles, Deputy Private Secretary, and Piers Morgan, the then Daily Mirror editor, was at its height. So it was likely disclosed by him. They said it was confirmed by a statement from a St. James's Palace spokesman, as quoted in the article. So here, MGN's lawyer turning around and saying, yo, Prince Harry, you're saying unlawful information gathering for this kissing disease article, but there's more plausible explanations, i.e. weird connections with the palace at the time, and yeah, just to remind you, we literally quoted in the article that there was a spokesperson from the palace that gave this information. Like, come the frick on. Like I'm saying, the worst testimony ever. This is how he is failing. This is how he is, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, losing this case. Now, moving on from that, he says that public statements, this is Prince Harry, are only reserved for major events, and insists that the Mirror article about the glandular fever was highly personal and distressing. Well, even if public statements are only reserved for major events, well, either way, there was a statement and it was confirmed from a St. James's Palace spokesman. So in this instance, doesn't matter if you turn round and say, well, public statements are only reserved for major events, because in their article, They got a statement from St. James's Palace spokesman all the same. So his argument, it doesn't make sense here. The lawyer then turns around and asks whether he found the same article in the Edinburgh Evening News and the Sun similarly distressing. To which the Duke responds, I didn't even know there was an Edinburgh Evening News today, and I didn't see the article in the Sun. In other words, again, we're going back to this pattern that we saw earlier on this morning, where Prince Harry's turning around and saying, yo, MGN, here's an article. You unlawfully gathered information from me. Where the deuce did you get this information from? MGN lawyer turning around and saying, hang on a minute. We got articles from other newspapers that we don't own that publish a story well before us. So, what the deuce, dude? What the deuce, right? Now, we go on to the 9th article, which is titled No Eton Trifles for Harry Aged 18, which was published back in September 2002. And it was actually based on an interview given by Prince Harry to the Press Association, otherwise known as the PA, 2 days before MGN published the story. So here, right, Prince Harry's turning around and saying, okay, you're No Eton Trifles for Harry 18. You unlawfully gathered information about that. Well, MGN's turning around and saying, how, when you gave an interview about it to the Press Association 2 days before we published it. What the deuce? And then it was published in various Sunday newspapers, including the Sunday Times, and here, Prince Harry has to admit, I see the similarity between the Sunday Times and the Mirror articles from MGN. After, the lawyer points out the use of the same quotes from his interview from the Press Association 2 days prior. Oh my goodness, yes, the worst testimony ever. This is how he's failing. He's losing his case. And now this is an absolute slamming of Prince Harry because he's told he's the source of his own complaint. So MGN's lawyer hammers home the point that Harry had revealed his birthday plans and other private information in the Press Association interview prior to the Mirror releasing that said article, right? Saying the position then is this: the private information of which you complain in the Daily Mirror article had been revealed by you and then published in other newspapers. And then again, Harry's in a corner. There's no way out on this. And he says, I see the similarities, of course, before adding that he believes the article was connected to an invoice and that the timing was suspicious. Well, where's the invoice? And why is the timing suspicious when 2 days prior he spoke to the PA? Come on! Sorry, the AP, the Associated Press. Come on! Oh, Press Association. I'm getting them mixed up. I'm just like, my mind's just blown with this being so contradictory on Prince Harry's part. But oh, wait, guys, there's freaking more. So we go on the 10th article, and this is titled Matured Harry is a Godfather, which was released on the 20th of April 2003. And MGN's lawyer says that the information about Prince Harry's appointment as godfather had been published a week prior, 7 days prior, in the Sunday Telegraph. Again, another newspaper MGN does not own, as had his expected attendance at the christening. And again, Harry is painted into a corner. MGN is like, here are the receipts. Those stories were published well before MGN touched them. And so here, Prince Harry says again, I see the similarities, but I don't know how it was all obtained. Oh, so if you don't know how it's all obtained, then is it the case where Prince Harry is then assuming unlawful information gathering? Just asking for a friend. Because it kind of seems that way, don't you think? Bringing up the invoice, the MGN lawyer then says it appears that a freelancer had written up the story from the Sunday Telegraph and then sold it on to the people for £200. So, yeah, okay, there's an invoice, but it was selling the story. That's it. No unlawful information gathering, no nothing. Like, Prince Harry, if you're turning around and saying that article screams an unlawful information gathering, well, MGN is showing their receipts. Show us your receipts. Damn, this has been a bloodbath today for him. Now, going on to the next article, which is titled Harry to Lead Cadets March, which was released on the 29th of April 2003. Harry said it's, quote, very suspicious that there's no byline on the Mirror article and refuses to rule out that it was obtained by phone hacking. Because there's no byline, we're going to suspect that there was some phone hacking because there was no byline on the title. Really? That is what he is resorting to. Are you shizzing me here? Now, the lawyer asks him whether the Press Association story revealing the same information was an issue for him, to which he responded that there's no history of phone hacking to obtain stories at PA. Oh, okay, so the Press Association and the Mirror, they release the same information, but somehow the Press Association gets a pass and the Mirror doesn't, even though they're releasing the same information. And Prince Harry is in no way, as far as I'm concerned, providing evidence that's concrete to prove in any of these articles that there was unlawful information gathering. If anything, you see in the pattern now, MGN is like, hang on a minute, the information was released like days ago. In some cases, a week ago. In one case, he did it himself with an interview with the Press Association before they then even ran their story in one of their newspapers. So the lawyer, he picks up on this and he says, are you suggesting that just because the Mirror has admitted one incident of phone hacking, that every other article was obtained by phone hacking? And he says no. Dude. And so we go on to the next article, which is titled Harry is Ready to Quit Oz, which is dated the 27th of September 2003. And the lawyer points out that it quotes a St. James's Palace spokesperson. Again, another article where it's quoting the Palace. The Palace is giving this newspaper information. There's no unlawful information gathering. It's from the Palace. Now, the Duke claims it was a, quote, reactionary statement from the Palace and says he was not aware that a similar article appeared in multiple other newspapers on the same day. So he turns round and he's like, you hacked me, unlawful information gathering on this particular article, but doesn't bother to think, well, hang on a minute, did any other newspapers report on this story before the Mirror? Really? Really? The lawyer then argues that other publications have the same private information that is contained in the Daily Mirror article, to which the Duke responds, yes. So then where's the unlawful information gathering on that one? Like, what's the problem? They all have that information. And some of it literally came from the Palace itself. Like, oh my goodness. We then continue with another article about him quitting his gap year in Australia. Now, the lawyer asks Harry whether Mark Dyer, who's previously described as a second father to Harry, had revealed the TV line to the press. Harry responded, I don't accept that Mr. Dyer would be freely speaking to the press. Oh, lawyer had a right good comeback to this. He says, well, he's plainly speaking to the press because he's appealing to Australian broadcasters to leave you alone. Woo! Harry turning around and saying, no, Mr. Dyer's not speaking to press. No. Lawyer turns around and says, yeah, here's an example. Of course he was speaking to the press. He's telling them to leave you alone. He's a former senior aide, Mr. Dyer, who arranged Harry's visit to Australia, and he was actually quoted telling reporters that Harry had been stuck inside to avoid all the press. So Harry turns around and says, I don't accept that Mr. Dyer would be freely speaking to press, but MGN is like, no, here's an example of him freely speaking to the press. So, again, where's the unlawful information gathering coming from? Ooh, what a bloodbath. Then We look at another article entitled Beach Bum Harry, which was published back in December 2003. Prince Harry says finding him in the Australian resort on the Queensland coast would be like trying to find a needle in a haystack. And it's true. It's true. Okay, that's fair enough. But the lawyer has a great answer to that. He says, I have no doubt that many photographers were prepared to look for that needle in a haystack. And of course they would be. If you are determined to find something, you're going to find it. If you have enough determination, you're going to find the needle in a haystack. It's not impossible. Difficult? Yes. Impossible? No. And this is the thing. Prince Harry, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, with all these articles is saying it was impossible for you to know this information without unlawful, illegal information gathering, phone hacking, whatever you want to call it. Guess what? The lawyer, time and time again, is destroying him, saying, well, hang on a minute, actually, there are plausible explanations. And here's the freaking proof of them all. Oh, my goodness. Now, the lawyer turns around and says, everybody has enormous sympathy with the amount of press intrusion you've suffered in your life, but it does not follow that it was obtained unlawfully. True. They then discuss an article in The People which reported a disagreement between him and his brother, Prince William, about whether to meet Princess Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell. Now, it was an article that the Prince Harry's lawyers yesterday claimed was the starting point of the split, the rift, the argument, the discord between Harry and his brother that's ripped the royal family apart. So in other words, no, it ain't Harry's fault that there's a rift between him and Prince William. Oh, no. It's the pesky press. Wow. Does he take any responsibility at all? I'm just asking for a friend. Now, he says, those were the words that I used, some words that were quoted in the article in question, and I certainly left voicemails on my brother's phone using that phrase. The Duke says of the story's headline that he called Burrell a two-faced beep. The article being discussed is, here we go, The People. Will's seeing Burrell is only way to stop him selling more Diana secrets. Harry, no, Burrell's a beep. Okay. The thing is, though, this right was a masterclass from the MGN lawyer, because he proper ran rings around Prince Harry and tied him up in knots where he got him to contradict himself not once but twice. Here we go. So, Mr. Green repeatedly asked Harry about his feelings towards Mr. Burrell after a contradiction was pointed out to him over whether he wanted to meet him or not. The lawyer says, quote, there's no suggestion in Spare that you were firmly against a meeting. And Harry responds, no, because I wrote it when I was 38 years old, and in this story, I was 18. I assume I would have wanted a meeting. I'd love to give him a piece of my mind. But after he gets pressed once again by the lawyer, contradicts himself, saying, quote, at the time I was firmly against the meeting. I was in the middle of the Australian outback. Hindsight is a very different thing. So hang on a minute. In Spare, he says there was no suggestion that he was firmly against the meeting. But then at the time when he's in the Australian outback, he's like, no, I was against the meeting. What? Were you happy to meet Paul Burrell or not? What the deuce, right? And then, second time, another contradiction in this same conversation here. He then says, I can't remember whether I wanted a meeting or not, as the lawyer presses him for a final time on the issue. So it goes from, I want firmly against a meeting in the book Spare, to, at the time, I was firmly against a meeting, to now, I can't remember whether I wanted a meeting or not. We then get on to the next article in question, a 2004 Mirror article about the Duke meeting his then girlfriend Chelsea Davies' parents. Now, the lawyer points out that Paul Davy, who is Chelsea's uncle, actually gave an interview to the Mail on Sunday informing them that the Duke was about to meet her parents for the first time. Prince Harry then says that doesn't mean it's true. Well, if the uncle is saying that you're about to meet Chelsea's parents for the first time, how does that not mean it? How does that mean it's not true? Like, what? He doesn't explain himself here. It's an absolute insane answer. Turning to Harry's witness statement, MGN's lawyer then says that he mentions that the Mirror article states that him and Chelsea had been dating for 8 months by that point, which was information already in the public domain. Everyone knew about that. Asked whether he believes this information was gathered unlawfully, the Duke responds that he does. But how is it gathered unlawfully when it's already in the public domain? We already knew. And Chelsea's uncle is literally speaking to the press saying Prince Harry's about to meet Chelsea Davies' parents. It was already out in the public domain. How can they then, hearing that from the lawyer, still say, yeah, it was still unlawfully obtained information? How? He then says, I'm at a complete loss as to how these details were obtained. I don't know. Speak to Paul Davey, Chelsea's uncle, Prince Harry. Do you know what I mean? Like, what the frick? I'm at a complete loss as how he's still maintaining this narrative that all these articles were as a result of unlawfully obtained information, phone hacking, whatever you want to call it. I'm at a loss for that. It's like, what the deuce? For him, is it, if he's at a complete loss at how these details are obtained, that automatically means that the article in question, the information was gathered by unlawful means? It kind of seems like that. Again, I'm asking for a friend, right? But check this out, right? He says he's got friends that could back him up, but, yeah, he's not letting them give evidence in court. I mean, the thing is, if you've got any form of evidence, right, to back yourself up, and it means that you need your friends to come to provide that evidence, you'd want them to come. You'd want them to come to court, put them on that stand, give them that evidence, back you up, strengthen your case, right? Here, Prince Harry, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, is sabotaging his case because he's saying, I've got friends that can back me up, that can provide evidence, provide testimony, but I'm not going to let them. Why? Here we go. The Duke suggested he didn't ask friends to give evidence in the High Court over his claims of unlawful information gathering to spare them from the experience. Huh? He tells the court it appears that someone working from MGN attempted to call Guy Pelly, a friend of his, 2 days prior to the publication of these articles, saying, I would want to spare most of my friends from this experience, the Duke told Mr. Green, when asked why he had not asked Guy Pelly to give evidence as a result. It's like, well, if you don't, if this Guy Pelly, right, can give evidence to strengthen Prince Harry's case, then why won't Prince Harry want that? It can't be, oh, I'm sparing him from the experience. No, that to me is BS. I'm sorry. That to me is BS. To me, I think there's something else going on here. That if Guy Pelly comes on stand, Prince Harry's afraid of certain information coming out from that guy. Opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, but I think that's the true reason. I'm telling you. But oh my goodness, he goes, wah, because, you know, revisiting these articles has been an absolutely stressful experience. Yeah, definitely a stressful experience. Yeah, when you're shown time and time again to contradict yourself and be proven, as far as I'm concerned, completely wrong in every single one of them. He was questioned at this point over an article that was published in February 2005 titled You Did What? Harry's legal team say the story involved a large number of invoices surrounding people close to the family whose voicemails were targeted, saying, would you agree the private information about your punishment was not obtained by the Sunday Mirror by phone hacking or any unlawful means? Harry responded the Mirror's article was a classic example of journalists attempting to further the story. Okay, classic example of that, but it's not an example of unlawful information gathering. He doesn't explain that at all. Then we look at a People article titled Chelsea's Gap Year in April 2005, the Duke says, in regards to spending hours on the phone to Chelsea, there's no way that anyone else would know that. Really? Really? Because, Moo Group newspaper lawyer turns around and is like, yeah, here's an article from Daily Star, published months ago, prior to ours, revealing that, Prince Harry was spending hours on the phone to Chelsea. Destroyed! Target destroyed! The lawyer said this reveals extensive information about the phone calls between the couple. And he's painted into a corner again. He's trapped. He's got nowhere to go. He has to admit it. And he does. He says, yes, it does say that. He continued, the quotes are attributed to an insider, what remains suspicious to me, but later admitted he could see similarities between the Daily Mail article and the People's story, which was published afterwards. But the quotes being attributed to an insider, how is that suspicious? How do you get suspicious of that and then jump to the conclusion that the article is as a result of unlawful information gathering? Time and time again, throughout today's testimony from Prince Harry, they've gone through each and every article so far where he's saying, you unlawfully gathered information on this, right? You unlawfully gathered information on this when I could get my teeth back in. And time again, the lawyer's turning around and saying, hang on a minute, the same information was published days ago, a week ago, months ago, right? The information was already in the public domain, or the palace gave us the information, or someone close to you gave us the information, or, worse still, he gave the information himself to another outlet. It's like, what the deuce? He's crying unlawful information gathering, but is not providing any evidence to support that claim. MGN, on the other hand, are turning around and saying, that's BS, and to boot, providing evidence to strengthen the claim that it's BS. Oh my goodness. Target destroyed. With that being said, that is the full trial recap from today. And guess what, guys? It ain't over. Prince Harry is going back on the stand tomorrow, and he's going to be blown to smithereens if we're going to take the example from today. With that being said, enough with my gob. It's now time for your gobs. If you appreciated this video and you want more, believe me, there's going to be more. Do make sure you click on that subscribe button. Help us get to 100k so we can get that silver play button right there. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theories and whatevers. Also, if you've got some very strong opinions about Harry being on the stand and what he said, and I bet you do, then make sure you send me a super thanks. It's just below this video right here. Let's have a conversation about this because it does guarantee a response from me. And until the next time, you guys, laters.